In this lesson, we're going to continue discussing ebooks. If you'd like to follow along, go under the File menu to Open, and in the Sample Files folder, scroll down to a folder called 1700 EPUB folder, and select 1703 Anchoring Objects in Text, and just click Open. What do anchored objects have to do with ebooks? They can help you refine the order of objects in an EPUB by making these objects part of the flow of the text. An anchored object acts like a character within the flow of the text, so the object will appear right after its insertion point when you export to EPUB. We talked about anchored objects in an earlier lesson, and I mentioned the old way to anchor objects. It was extremely time-consuming. Let's review Adobe's faster way to anchor objects introduced in CS 5.5, mostly because of EPUBs. And there's no cutting, no pasting, no dialog boxes, and no positioning of objects afterwards. All you have to do to anchor an object is to position the object where you want. And let me just scroll down to page 2 and zoom in. I already have this object positioned exactly where I want it in the text. To make it into an anchored object, all I have to do is click on this blue square in the upper right-hand corner of my selected group here. You can see it's a group grouped together with the photo acknowledgement. And I'm just going to click on that blue square and drag it to an insert point. How about right after the chapter headline? Let me scroll down a little bit further and go to the next page that has an image on it. I'm going to select that image and I'm going to drag it to an insertion point right after the end of the paragraph before. What this is going to do, this text is already part of an article in the Articles panel. This is determining where the image will fall in the flow of text within that article. Let me scroll down a little bit further. The next chapter is the contents and then the basics. Let me click on this image and click and drag from the blue square to the end of the paragraph above it. So this image will appear right before the subhead. Let me go down a little bit further to the next image, and you can see this is a group. It actually has a caption that's part of that group, and it works with groups as well. I'm going to click from the blue square and click and drag to the end of the paragraph before. And I'm going to scroll down to the next page and do the next image and click and drag to the end of the paragraph before. Do the same thing with this next image, click and drag to the end of the subhead. And scroll down a little bit further. With this image, do the same thing. Click and drag the blue square to an insert point at the end of the paragraph before. And scroll down a little bit further. And here I want to insert this right after the subhead. And last but not least, I'm going to click and drag from the blue square in this group to the end of the subhead. Now I have the order of my text determined by the Articles panel and the order of the images determined by anchored objects within each article in the Articles panel. So it's probably going to come out a lot more like I would want it to come out when I export to EPUB. In the next lesson, we'll continue discussing EPUBs.